In the U.S., we are experiencing an epidemic of fatherless families. According to the Census Bureau, 18.3 million children, 1 in 4, live without a biological, step, or adoptive father in the home. Consequently, there is a father factor in nearly all social problems facing America today. David Popenoe, a professor of sociology at Rutgers University and author of Families Without Fathers, he argues, this massive erosion of fatherhood contributes mightily to many of the social problems of our time. Fatherless children have a risk factor of 2 to 3 times that of fathered children for a wide range of negative outcomes, including dropping out of high school, giving birth as a teenager, and becoming a juvenile delinquent. Another factor of fatherless families, I believe, is the decline of Christianity. Now, you might be puzzled at the correlation I made, but stick with me. Researchers at Barna have found that Christianity is on a steady decline. Meanwhile, Americans' identification with atheism continues to increase. Barna states that atheism has nearly doubled in the U.S. from 2003 to 2018. In Dr. Paul Vitz's Faith of the Fatherless, The Psychology of Atheism, he demonstrates that many atheists may lack a belief in God due to growing up with the disappointment in their earthly father, either due to death, absence, or abuse. In the book, he surveys many of the top atheists throughout history, including Bertrand Russell, who is considered perhaps the most prominent English atheist. His father died when he was just 4. Another famous atheist, David Hume, lost his father at 2 years old, and Friedrich Nietzsche's father died when he was just 4. But it's not just the death of a father that is common among famous atheists. Many have had terrible fathers like Sigmund Freud's, Madeleine Murray O'Hair, Karl Marx, and Joseph Stalin, just to name a few who have suffered under abusive, distant, or disturbed fathers, each failing to live up to fatherhood in the eyes of the child. Even the face of the rising new atheism movement, Richard Dawkins, was apparently sexually abused by a priest-type figure at boarding school while he was away from his parents. His unthinkable experience as a child being victimized by a father-type figure would certainly play into his hatred toward God, and I think Vitz agrees. He states in the epilogue of his book, the preceding study supports the conclusion that many an intense personal reason lies behind the public rejection of God. He goes on to say, aside from the common superficial reasons, many serious unbelievers are likely to have painful memories behind their rationalization of atheism. Growing up without a father is something I can relate to. My dad died in a car accident 2 months before I was born. When I was younger, I considered myself lucky that he died before I knew him. I would shake it off if someone asked, telling them, it's not a big deal, I didn't know him. The sad thing is, my younger self couldn't see the irony in that statement. Not knowing your father is a big deal, a very big deal. However, as I got older, I realized not knowing my father affected me much more than I thought. The truth is, I can relate to the atheist described by Vitz in his book Faith of the Fatherless. And I think that's why I was so compelled to make this video. The concept of a father in heaven is difficult to perceive without having an example of that father-child relationship on earth. The difference between me and many of these atheists without fathers, however, I realized that not having a father played an important role in my worldview and was the major source of my early skepticism of God and Christianity. In fact, it wasn't until I became a father myself that I began to see the importance of having a father-like figure in one's life. Through being a father, I could see the dynamic of the relationship that had eluded me for so long. From there, I began to recognize God as a father in my life, and so I began to seek Him and ultimately found my Heavenly Father in the pages of the Bible. With that said, Christianity in the 21st century may have a tougher challenge of convincing the world that God exists than earlier generations. Sure, the ancients had their idols and gods and who knows what else, but modern society is attacking the existence of God from every angle. In addition to conventions like human evolution, which has itself evolved into a religion, claiming there's no need for God anymore, we have scientism, or the cult-like belief that science can solve all of today's problems. Don't get me wrong, I'm a firm proponent of science and the scientific process, but it has been corrupted by ideology, politics, and our increasing need for headlines. God has seemingly been banished from public discourse, while streams of misinformation fly at us constantly through social media and the internet. Social unrest seems to be boiling over, and as I mentioned before, in the backdrop of all this corruption, Countless fathers are leaving their children and families, while some organizations are now applauding the breakdown of the nuclear family. I'm not saying all atheists who haven't experienced fatherhood, like me, lack a belief in God because of an absent or abusive father. What I am saying, however, is there is evidence to show that growing up without a father, or one that embraces the essence of fatherhood, is one of the many reasons so many young people are turning their back on God. I know, because I almost did.